Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trevor, and welcome again to a Rip Roaring Reds podcast. You're joined this evening by me, by my co-host Jason. It feels like it's been an absolute age, but we're back in front of you after beating Man United 1-0, a very slender win away from home to take Arsenal through to the final day of the season. How are you feeling after that result, Jace?
I mean, we're in it. We can say that this time we took it to the wire. When you ask my review, it might be slightly different. But we're taking it to the wire. We're in it, and I guess you can't ask for anything more given the position we were in at the start of the day. This was the outcome that we needed, and it's the outcome that we got. So yeah, happy, and let's just hope Spurs do something. But
do you feel dirty? Do you feel dirty saying it? Kai Havertz said it in his post-match. He goes, "I'm a big Tottenham fan." Are you a big Tottenham fan on Tuesday?
I've got a white England shirt I might be able to wear somewhere.
Turn it inside out or something.
Does that count?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't have any hope. I've got more hope for West Ham doing something than Spurs, but we'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you're optimistic or you're not, I mean, let's wait. We're going to get into it. I'm sure.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Let's not spill the whole podcast.
All right. Look, if you're joining us for the first time and this is your first time to the channel, then welcome. We love to have you here. Please do give our channel a subscribe. Please do give this video a like. We're going to get in to today's show the same way that we get into every single show, which is a Rip Roaring review. It's your time in Arsenal. It actually feels like an age since we've done one of these, Jace. We've both been away exploring what United States have to offer. We've seen a bit of, you've seen a bit of American football culture. I say football, soccer. We both of us saw a bit of hockey culture. Maybe we'll get into some of that in the parking lot, the difference of sporting cultures, because I think that'll be interesting. Rip Roaring review then, tell me, because you said it's maybe not quite as positive as your initial thoughts and feelings are. Tell me where you're going to go this week.
Well, the review can be anything, right? So yeah, am I happy when it's the last game of the season? Absolutely. Anything can happen in football, and miracles do happen. Leicester won the league, so City can drop points. But my question really is, did we make Man United look good? That's one of the worst Man United sides that they've put out all season. Their back four was hilarious, right? And you had Casemiro and Johnny Evans is like, I mean, how old's Johnny? Like he's, he shouldn't be in your starting lineup. And they've just been smashed by Palace. And I feel like we made them look respectable. We got the job done, but I was a little bit underwhelmed, a little bit disappointed considering the motivation that should be in this Arsenal team at this point in the season. I think, have you seen how many goals that City have been just banging in for fun the last few games? And that goal difference that we were all saying was potentially worth a point is almost gone, right? And they still have to play Spurs midweek, and they've not been looking amazing. So you can see them scoring a few against Spurs. So we needed more goals today, and I don't think we get them, and we didn't get them, and that left me a bit underwhelmed. I know we always talk about the kind of like the history of playing at Old Trafford, but I don't see those two sides really representing former history. I think that their managers are different, the squads are different, and ultimately, if you look at the squad for squad, we should have absolutely annihilated them on their current form, and we didn't. So that was, it's not trying to be purposely a negative. I'm happy, but we needed more goals. We really did need to put them to the sword, and I don't think we did it. I think we made them look slightly respectable.
If Spurs do draw, or even West Ham, let's say, and the goal difference comes to bite us, we currently got a three goal cushion. That could change anywhere between now and next week, but still, it was at 1 point plus 10 and over. So you're right.
Plus 12.
Yeah, I mean it's quite a gap to close. But I want to riff on maybe something that you said there. I know that this fixture doesn't necessarily have the grandeur that it once did in years of yonder, but but it's still a big fixture. It means a lot to both Man United and to Arsenal fans. There is still a lot of heated rivalry, particularly people of our kind of generation, where it stems all the way back to the late 90s and the early 2000s, and that massive rivalry between Wenger and Fergie. And so I want to just say that we beat that hoodoo. There's a few grounds of hoodoo for us, and there have been over the last 3 years. That kind of been broken. Anfield was one, and we've kind of feel like we've at least got to a point now where we're not going there and getting hammered every time we turn up. And we have won only 4 times in 31 visits to Old Trafford, and so you put it into that context. And it was this was not a classic game of football. This was not the Arsenal that we've seen probably over many fixtures recently. It was quite a difficult victory, and it wasn't pretty either. There's a lot of good, pretty football that we've played. Wasn't on show here. Do you think we maybe showed them a little bit too much respect?
I don't think we had the energy, and that sounds crazy given that we've had a bit of rest as well, right, since Bournemouth last week. I just didn't see the energy. I mean, the temperature, I don't know what the temperature was in Manchester. I mean, it was pretty hot. My car said 26 degrees, but we were in the south of England, right? So I don't know how actual hot it was up in Manchester. It did look quite hot. But is energy sapping? Because we said, we were watching this game, right? And we said to each other, are we just saving that energy resource for the second half, and we'll turn it on the second half? Sometimes we do just flick a switch in the second half and just go to town. We didn't have that. We didn't have that. So, I didn't think it was energy consumption as more. We just didn't have any.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a long season, right? So you're probably getting into the dregs of it now. There's one game remaining for us, and there's going to be a lot of tired legs, and some teams are on the beach and stuff. So that does show. I'm going to end before I want to talk about the topic because you mentioned I want to talk about it, Man United in general. But this season we've won 27 games. We've never done that ever in any season before. And Mikel in his post-match said, that's not progress, that's history. And that's such a great line. And it's such an incredible... And I know we will... So me and you are attempting, depending on what goes down, to go to Holloway Road, Islington, somewhere around there on Sunday to go and watch it. And, we could come out deflated, defeated, all those kind of things. But it has been an absolutely incredible season for us, and a lot of growth and a lot of things, and all of that. And I know you want to talk about it later. A lot of that's down to Arteta and the connection that he's given us back into this club, which has been, we've experienced moments together across this season that have been incredible, the same as we did last season. It's all progress, and I love the fact that he said that. That's it's going to be in the history of this club, these moments, this time, and hopefully more to come as well.
Yeah, it's the journey as well, right? It's not just
the destination.
It's not just it is kind of, but it is also the journey. And I think we've had a superb journey. And I think if you say to Liverpool fans as well, when the years under Klopp, like there's a lot of fans being critical of Jurgen right now, going, "Oh, was he successful? He only won one trophy in that squad." And it's like, but it just feels like there's an asterisk on all of those seasons because of how good City are. I mean, we don't need to bring up and talk about the Chargers, but just the fact that they are where they are because of the way in which they invested in the squad in the early years and now maintain that momentum. We've talked about the fact they're now financially compliant almost because they make enough money now because of how successful they've been. But the money that funded that success at the beginning that got them to the level where they are now was maybe questionable. We'll find out properly, but it makes City in a position where I genuinely don't think potentially you beat them maybe one in 5 seasons, and Liverpool have done it. We've had 2 seasons now. We've pushed them very close. We might get it this season, but it's looking unlikely. So until Guardiola goes and they have to bring in another coach and embed in a new philosophy, it does, it makes what are exceptional seasons not look exceptional. But when you talked about this, the 27 games won, the Invincibles, we only won 26, drew 12. And you could argue there's some games, a couple of games I feel we chucked away this year as well. And so I think on the pitch, this has been one of, if not our most impressive seasons. It's just the level now is so high that you just doesn't mean you're going to come out with a trophy.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to, you briefly talked about it, and I want to kind of go on to it because the segment wrote, "Are Manchester United good?" Now I think I know the answer. But
why did you put that caption up?
Because I know the answer. I think I know the answer. I looked at that lineup beforehand. I said to friends, that Manchester United lineup today was amongst the worst I have ever seen. It was. I was gonna say this, and I don't know whether or not it's a bit true or not. The 8-2 and the squad that we were playing around that time, and some of the players that we were playing, I feel this Man United squad now is worse than that squad that we played and got beaten by that team.
Oh, that's it. Oh, right. Okay. We've got to go through this player by player and compare this.
I'm gonna have a look in a minute, but before I'll get it up and I'll have a little look.
Yeah.
Tell me though, do you think that Man United are good, or do you think we made them look good today?
Oh, we made them look good today. There are games when we've turned it on against Chelsea. Recently we turned it on. Yeah, especially that Chelsea game. Chelsea beat United, didn't they? They came back and won 4-3. I didn't watch that game, but I heard United were winning and then they flunked it and Chelsea won 4-3. I'm correct. Yep. And we absolutely annihilated Chelsea. We took them to the sword. They were awful. And this Man United team, and the only benefit I think they had was that they were Old Trafford. I think that was the only benefit they had. They weren't good. I understand why there's been the thing of the whole squad's for sale, minus Garnacho, Maino, and Højlund. And I would say only really it was Garnacho that stood out to me today. He was the only one trying for them. Look, player for player, I take out every single Arsenal player any day. That may be quite a questionable one for some United fans. If I say I take Havertz over Højlund, but I do. The way Havertz has been playing this season, I just think we just didn't turn the gas on. As I said, I think it's an us thing, not a United thing.
Do you think that in the like I said, in the context of this fixture, do you think we walked into it? And I think this is how we set up against Bayern. I think we restricted them too much on the name of the club, of the idea of the fixture, because that fixture for us was, like I said, scar tissue, all history, all that other stuff, 8-2s over 10-2s over aggregate, whatever it was, like all of that. And I feel that some of that's played into how we approach this game. If we had played our game, I think even Merson said it before the game. He's like, if Arsenal play good, they'll smash this team, and we didn't.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there are lots of what you would call the top six, which I don't really know if there's a top six anymore the last few years. I think it's just been a bit, I don't really know, it could be a top 8, top 10 now. But some of these big clubs, as you talked about, have always been our struggle for us in the last few years. Never able, to get a win at Anfield. Not even able to compete with City, just always getting spanked by City. And this year, we have not lost to any of the big original top 6. We have drew Spurs, beat Spurs, drew Chelsea away, beat Chelsea, drew Liverpool away, beat Liverpool, beat Man United both times, drew City, beat City. So that is, for me, if you don't lose those games, and those are the best teams in the league, we should be champions. I genuinely think we've been the best team in the league this year. There's been some really stupid performances, which we'll go on and talk about, and we're going to not talk about them on this pod. We'll talk about them on another pod, depending on the outcome of next weekend. But there's been some silly performances this year, which will be the reasons why we won't be champions. We have been the best squad, and we have got over that hurdle of not being able to turn up and play these big 6 teams and beat them. And so I wasn't fearing going to Man United. I wasn't worried watching any of that game when it was 1-0 thinking, oh, we're going to concede, or we're going to do something stupid. I didn't have that nerve. That nervousness has gone for me. It's really weird. It's a really weird feeling knowing that I used to sit on edge watching it, and now I don't sit on edge watching
Do you think this is as a City fan sits like every game now? Because I think maybe we said this before, or you said it before. Like sometimes we get to these games, it's a bit not boring. It's not the right word, but it's like I don't know. Go
on. This was almost going to be my review, but I was like, I can't do this again. I've done it too many times. where it's been an underwhelming performance, but you're not nervous, and you're like, it's kind of boring. It's like because you want Arsenal to turn it on every game, but we have proven also we don't have to turn it on. We can get the odd goal and then just play the game out. Bit old school 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Because we didn't get out of second gear in this game, like at all.
No.
If we had, we would have pummeled them, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think if Trossard doesn't get that goal in 20 minutes and we go into second half, then we turn it on because we have to. But
I'd agree with that.
Something like that.
Okay. So Man United shit, basically, what we're saying.
Yes.
There was a player.
Go on. I was going to ask if there's anything you want to add, right? I've done the talking there. What are Man United good for you?
I don't. I mean, I said that Man United shit. And it's a worth thing. I'm going to leave. I've looked it up, and I wanted to. I'd love to compare the lineups. So I'm going to do it. I'll do it in the parking lot. I'm going to save it for there because I feel it is quite interesting. So anybody that wants to see a player-by-player comparison between the 8-2 that we lost against United at Old Trafford and the lineup that Man United put out in this game, stay tuned. There was a player that you just mentioned. I want to just bring him up because Trossard did score the goal that eventually won this game. And there was a time on this podcast that both me and you have waxed lyrical about how Trossard is not a starter and how he comes off the bench and is delivered off the bench for us on many, many, many occasions. However, over the past kind of 6 to 8 weeks, he's had the opportunity to step up due to, I suppose you could say, a drop in form of Martinelli as well as an injury that he picked up. So maybe it's a bit of a lucky chance that he's been offered. But tell me about that chance that he's been given and the fact that Trossard has taken it. What are your feelings and thoughts towards Trossard over the course of this season and, taking his goal?
Well, I'm glad he's proven me wrong because I think we berated at times Arteta for starting him because we just didn't feel he turned it on in the games and got the goals he needs, whereas he always turns it on off the bench. And as you say, last 4 games, he's definitely proving us wrong. I think you've got some good stats that I'll let you bring out around his performances this season. I'm really happy with how he's playing. And I don't think we have an option but to play anyone else starting on the left at the moment because Jesus is not where he needs to be. Martinelli is not where he needs to be. I think Jesus being left out of the Copa America squad for Brazil is a damning indictment of how far he has fallen in the last few months. I was actually really surprised also to see that Martinelli has been selected. And I don't know if that's just because some of the other wingers in Brazil are injured. I just was hoping really that Anthony and Richarlison had left out because they were absolutely shite. And Martinelli had been selected because of his ability, but he hasn't really performed that well this season over the whole course compared to what he did last season. So we need him to turn in and find his form, and I think maybe he needs a rest, and then and I think we'll just pick it back up with him next season. So yeah, Trossard, he's coming on and scoring goals, but now he's starting and scoring goals. And if he had not have done that, I don't think we're in the league title race. He has scored important goals at important times in the last few games. So very happy with him and happy to take back my perspective that we were going to be sharing more towards the start of the season. He's proved us wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with everything you've said. Like say, I did have. So he's got 17 goals and assists this year, which is really good output for. We've talked about probably being the bargain of a January signing for us and one of our probably our best. Maybe it's a future pod again that we can talk about that. But between Jesus and Martinelli, they've got 10 between them, and I think the lacking in numbers between those two and the evolution of Trossard to fill that delta is quite telling, quite stark. It's helpful, obviously, to us. What you don't want to have is finding players that are going missing and dipping in form all at the same time. It's quite fortunate to have players that can kind of fit in between those gaps. And so we should be, he scored 4 in the last 5. In all those, I think he's at the start. And so you can't ask for anything more of a player of his age, of his kind, coming to the squad, filling a gap where, and I think I said to you, because we were sat next to each other watching this stuff, Martinelli just feels like Havertz from the start of the season. What we kind of need is someone to get a penalty and give it to Martinelli, just so we can get some confidence into those legs, to get something in that mentality of his to show that he is still the player that we all believe and know that he can be. Is just not at this point in time.
I want to upgrade on Martinelli right now.
So, I mean, it's a good question. I'd only just say that, like, we know there's a player there. It's not like it's not Anthony to call upon this game. There is definitely a player there that you can get enough out of. And if you look across our squad where we need to make signings, I'm just not too sure that one, unless you get an ambidextrous winger that can do either side. I just don't know how many of them exist, Jace, and particularly the quality and the level that we need them to be at. If you look at Trossard when we signed him at the level, like he's kind of like a 7 or 8 out of 10 player on the regular, right? There's not many of those across the Premier League that you look at and go, we can go and get that player right now for 27 million and he'll fit into our system. There's none. There aren't any.
Well, we paid, what was it, 25.7 or 27 or whatever it was we paid for Trossard. The output of goals and assists is a bargain considering how much players cost for the Premier League to get to that standard. Now, let me ask you a question. Gabby and his wages, his new contract, Martinelli and his new contract that he signed this season,
right? It's quite a lot.
And how much did Jesus come in on from City? There's no way he came on under 150. So I don't know how much he's on, right? I'm making assumptions. There's no way it was under 150. He came in as the number 1 striker for us. So you got to assume it's about 200. That's £400,000 a week that's delivered together, combined 10 goals and assists. I think we have a problem there. I do liken that problem to a Manchester United problem, right? How much money have they spent on forward and attacking talent that is under-delivered? Because that is the level of investment that we're making there. It's under-delivering. And you don't question Saka and Odegaard. No one's questioning Trossard, especially because of the amount he cost. Maybe this is again another topic for we need to come back to in the summer break, right? I think maybe to really reflect on this.
Well, maybe we can. So we were going to talk about maybe the midfield and attack and absence, because you mentioned a player there that I'd like to talk about, like Saka and Odegaard. Actually, I'll let you check, but neither of them necessarily set the world on fire today, and I do feel that Saka is. He can be quite devoid of criticism. I don't know why that is, but I feel as Arsenal fans, we kind of, because he had a lot of external criticism for that penalty and thus all the fallout thereafter, we feel very protective around Saka and kind of want to wrap our arms around him. And there's been a lot of debate recently about Saka versus Foden or Palmer even. But Saka has really gone off the boil for me over the last few weeks. He doesn't feel at the same player that I think we've seen earlier on in this season. I don't know if you agree.
Really? I mean, there's a couple of goals. That one against Bayern Munich was a great finish. I think the thing with Saka is that he's not an on every game all the time player. He is literally like Iron Robin. I know we joke about it because he's always going to cut in and shoot with his left, which he does a lot. He also gets to the byline. I just think he's adapting his game, and this season we've seen him perfect and refine what he can do. And that's why I've talked about having a Saka backup, because sometimes it doesn't quite work for him, and you do need to have something a little different, and we don't have anything different, right? So I don't know if he's gone off the boil. I think this game was not his best. I don't think, as I said, I think there's a whole problem. You could move on to talk about Odegaard, right? He did not find the pass today. He didn't find the hole. He didn't find the gap. He didn't have the magic touch of his quick feet. So I wouldn't call out and focus just on Saka. I think there's a whole squad thing in this game.
I mean, you did want to talk about this, and maybe this is a good segue. But I wonder whether or not this is something tactically how we set up this team against Man United that didn't lend itself very well for the likes of Odegaard and Saka to shine. I would say that there's one element that I saw, and I think I said this to you. Odegaard is usually pushing from the front quite significantly, and he brings the whole squad with him. He drags them up into the game. He shouts, he screams. He is our captain in every way, shape, and form, and he does that with the team. He wasn't. I don't feel he was doing that as much today, or necessarily that we needed to do it as much today. Maybe, like I say, maybe that's the tactical setup and a read of the game, that this wasn't the game that we needed to push. I think there was we allowed Man United to play because we knew that they just don't want the ball. They don't want to play with the ball. They would have counter-attacked us any opportunity that they got, and they didn't get a lot of them. And I think that's just because of how we set up. I don't know if you think that's the same tactic that you were seeing, or was there something else that you saw Mikel kind of set up that was different to that?
I think we played a more conservative game. We let them have a lot of the ball, and we were talking about this, that is this the just let them have the ball and take the sting out of it? Because there's a few points where you're like, oh, Man United are they felt a little, not on top, but like you felt they had a bit of the ball and they were pressing in the first half. And I just thought it was just this. I thought it was just our game, right, where we can play our low block, we can block teams out, and we can ride out times when the opposition have large amounts of the ball. And I thought it was just us doing something. And again, I was expecting something to come out in the second half, and it didn't. I didn't see us turn that switch. Tactically, I don't know. I think it was energy. I don't think there was anything, because ultimately he set the squad up in exactly the same way. Like what was different about the lineup from Bournemouth?
Nothing.
So, what was there any major transitions that you noticed that we worked in a different way, in the way, the patterns of how we passed the ball, the way in which we countered, the way in which
I do think that we didn't move it around fast enough. I don't think we moved. Like I say, maybe that is energy. We certainly weren't flowing the ball and passing around the team as quickly as we did against Bournemouth. We didn't seem as pressured. And like I said, I don't know whether or not we just went, we know that they're not very good, and we know that they're not going to be able to score against us, and so we'll just coast. Maybe that's what it was.
I think it was the heat. I genuinely think it was something to do with the weather. It's so hot. I played football today in this weather. It was
me watching you play football was tiring enough for me, Jay. So I don't know.
It was hot. I think it was energy.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about some real shining beacons in this game. So I want to talk about the man of the match, which was Big Will Saliba. I wanted to pull parallels to the same, or at least earlier than last season, because looking back, partly the reason why we didn't get to where we are right now last season is because Saliba was injured and we had to fill that void with Rob Holding. How big of a deal is having Saliba in games like this and the performances that he's put in at this part of the season? Do you feel he's our most important player, Jace? And what do you think about his performance?
Okay, he's clinical in decisive situations from a defensive-minded perspective. You saw some amazing interceptions, and he was calm and he was composed. He was even trying to calm other players as we were clearing the ball, and when Saka whacked it clear, but you can see Willa going, calm the fuck down. He's got such a mature, level-headed kind of vibe about him, even though he is 22. He's really young. So is he our best player? I mean, Odegaard and Saka, people would question, but I think he's on par, even if he's not our best in his respective position. in the squad, he's by far.
Yeah, he's not a Hollywood. He's not a Hollywood position either, though, right? It's in the same vein as Declan Rice. It's like one of those positions that you don't. They're not scoring goals, so
he is our Virgil van Dijk, right? He is going to get us to a title at some point, but he relies on everyone else doing their jobs and not just him. He does his job week in, week out. And I think it's I think next year you might see Van Dijk go. I know City have got Diaz, but I mean, I'm always been biased towards him because I saw that potential. I obviously my affiliation with watching a little bit of French football and just getting to watch him when he was younger and just seeing everything about him, I was so excited. And when I thought he was going to leave because he wasn't getting the opportunities at Arsenal, I was gutted. And then when he came into the squad, I was like, it was just meant to be. I love him so much, and I hope he stays with us for years and years and years. And it's nothing more to say than, yeah, he's our best defender by far, in my opinion. I know people will say Gabriel is better, but they're both great. But I just love Saliba.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love him? And I think he is a very calm, level-headed player, as you say. I think the biggest thing, and I looked at this afterwards, he got player of the match versus Liverpool at Anfield, player of the match versus Manchester City at the Etihad, player of the match versus Man United at Old Trafford. There are 3 huge grounds, huge games, and he's a big-time player. You know, he stepped up into these games. We've been world renowned for having teams of shrinking violets over the years. And you've said about, players stepping up to the plate in games like this and being counted. And maybe, the fact that you don't have to worry anymore, Jace, you said it yourself. You're like, I go into these games a bit like there's no jeopardy for us because we're so good. We play so well. There's nothing to worry about. And it's because of players like Big Bill Saliba that we're in that position. Like you say, when he was saying calm to Saka, because he's probably like, don't boot it out because we'll be able to play from the back. There was many years where Arsenal used to do that. And me and you would be like, what the fuck are we doing? We're just suicide football at the back, waiting for a loose ball to be snatched at. And then we go 1-0 down. It's happened so many times. And we just don't do that anymore. So you're right. He's probably just like so confident in our team and his own ability that he can do it. And I think I want to, I didn't get the chance to talk about this during the Bournemouth game. There's a bit where he almost scored an absolutely unreal goal where he waltzed through their defense. And it's kind of like, what defenders do that? I mean, other than Gabriel, and I do want to, we talked about this a little bit earlier because I kind of said that, Man City get a lot of plaudits for some of their players, like Gabriel at the moment. He scored 4 goals, I think, in 3 or 4 games. I forget. But he's a £75 million defender who hasn't had to play a game because he's had the time and opportunity to learn Pep's system and to play the way that they play because they've had other £100 million defenders be able to fill in those gaps while that other player becomes accustomed to the league. There's no other team in the league that can sign a 70 to £100 million player and allow that player to sit on the bench as soon as they join to run the ropes.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do it. No other team would do it other than Man City. And you have to kind of say that loan spell of Saliba, who knows what could have happened. But in hindsight, you kind of look at it maybe going, you know what? It's given him an ounce of maturity that he didn't have before. It's giving him maybe a bit of a chip on his shoulder that I'm sure Arteta has worked out with him. But I'm sure he came into this going, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to show you what I'm made of. And we've got it. And it's very rare nowadays, like you say, to find defenders of that kind of build, of that kind of stature. Van Dijk was the last one. I mean, even Diaz's injury record is not great, and he goes in and out of seasons. So hopefully Saliba's our Van Dijk for many years to come, as you say, and hopefully can bring us, if not now, soon, a trophy in the cabinet.
Yuri and Timber 2024-25.
Man, I've never seen a player have so much affinity with him after playing half a match. I really don't like. If he's shit when he comes back, it's going to be hell to pay for all. Like everyone's going to hate him.
We saw a few games of him, right? We saw him in the Community Shield against City. We were at that game, and he looked brilliant. And then that first half of the first game of the season, I was at that. I can't remember if you were. And again, he looked brilliant. And when he went off, I was like, just please don't be bad. And then obviously we've missed him the whole game this season. The whole season, he's not played since. He's a big loss. I don't know if
maybe they might give a little cameo next week.
Depending on
the situation, right?
Obviously. Yeah, you could see it. You could see it depending on the situation. You could get a cameo.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be nice.
Nice.
I'm interested to see how many. Obviously, the game's fully sold out. Me and Jay said we're going to go up to London and see if we can catch it in the Tolly or somewhere nearby. If Man City paced Spurs, I wonder how many tickets might wind up on the exchange or not. I don't know. Arsenal fans.
But if City paced Spurs, will be in the ground. But
I can't see it myself. I can't see anyone giving their ticket away.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think City are going to lose to West Ham, are they? Let's be honest.
Right. Let's get those London clubs should be doing it for us, Jace, because we're the shining glory and hope of Southern football. So that's what we're here for.
West Ham need to do it for Declan Rice because he got them the European trophy. I'm not expecting Spurs to do anything for us, but West Ham.
He'll be texting his friends like everyone was texting Bernd Leno, Willian, and who else do we have? Iwobi, all of which did absolutely dross against Man City yesterday.
Yeah. West Ham can turn up when they want to.
Well, not David Moyes is not there. Maybe last game. Let's see what happens. I guess. I said I'd save it for the parking lot. So Jason, I'm gonna give you each player one for one, and I want you to tell me which one you prefer. Who's worse?
Okay.
So tell me who's worse, and then we're gonna figure out who has the worst team. Is it Arsenal's team that lost 8-2 at Old Trafford, or is it Man United's team today that lost 1-0 to Arsenal? Okay. Right. So in goal for them, they obviously had Onana, and we had Wojciech Szczesny.
So it's actually quite a tough one, but I think based on what I know, are we talking about the squads as they currently are, the players over history and time? Because over history and time, Szczesny is number one
at this point in his Arsenal career. So don't take him as he is now.
Okay, then I'll probably go Onana. He was very young.
Onana's worse.
No, Szczesny was worse.
All right, Szczesny's
than Onana.
Worse. All right.
Yeah, at that point in his career.
All right. So the centre backs I'm going to pick on too. So today, Man United had Casemiro and Johnny Evans. Looking at our lineup, we had Laurent Koscielny and Johan Giroud.
Oh, I would take Laurent Koscielny and Johan Giroud
as better.
Well, I definitely take Laurent Koscielny.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about.
And I'd probably pair him with Johnny Evans, to be honest, because Koscielny he's got the pace, he can cover Johnny Evans. It's a very similar Per and Mertesacker vibe, Johnny Evans and Koscielny.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you on that one. I'm just looking for some of these names. It's funny. Our right back at the time was Carl Jenkinson.
Bloody hell! Who also got sent. Wan-Bissaka's done. Sorry.
He got sent off during this game. Carl Jenkinson did. Yeah.
Oh.
Try to remember this now. So our left back is Armand Traore.
Who's their left back?
Who did they have today?
Dalot.
It was Dalot, yeah, Dalot.
Yeah, you probably go Dalot, don't you?
Yeah, we're looking worse right now, Jace. This is bad. Yeah, this Arsenal squad's bad. Right, in our midfield combo would have been. I'm trying to figure this out now. Well, it's either going to be no, it wasn't Mikel. We had Rosicky, Ramsey, and Coquelin
versus
and their midfield trio. So it was Amrabat, Mainu, and McTominay.
I'd actually go Arsenal's midfield. On their day, Ramsey, Coquelin.
Ramsey was good. Rosicky was good. And I actually liked Coquelin for a time.
He was decent for a time. He was young there, though. He made a good career afterwards. But I'd take the experience of Rosicky. It was a very young Aaron Ramsey as well, but I'd still take him.
Some of this up front team it's a bit disgusting when I'm looking at it. So Man United's front three today were Garnacho, Højlund, Diallo. And our front three, listen to this is incredible. Our front three on this day was Van Persie, Theo Walcott, and who's the last one, Jay? See if you can guess.
I think we did buy. No, we bought Jovino season after.
If I give you this, you'll know who it is straight away. I'm going to hold it up to the camera, Jason.
Shamak wasn't playing. He was, but he was a striker, and if Van Persie.
Shamak came off the bench to replace Van Persie. We had another player.
Left wing.
Come on, Jason. I'm giving you the symbol. I'm giving you the symbol. You don't want to look up. Just look.
4.
Who did this, Chase, when he was celebrating? Come on.
Andre Arshavin.
Look at that. Arshavin, Walcott, Van Persie up front versus their 3. Ours is much better than that. So it's a hard one, this one.
I mean, I'd take Garnacho, Van Persie, Theo, I guess.
Yeah, I think you probably would.
So that's what, 6 Arsenal players, 5 Man United.
You wouldn't have Arshavin over Garnacho.
Oh, at that stage in their career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our front three kills that front three.
Yeah, but if it's for goals, but like it's really hard because there's 2 different types of football. We're talking like a 12-year gap between those 2 games, which is quite scary to think about, but it is.
So this bench is disgusting. The bench we had, I'm not gonna. So we had the Ox, right? And other than Oxlade,
he was young though. He was young.
He was. Our bench was Shamak, Henry Lansbury, Giles Sunu, Lucas Fabianski, Ignacy Miguel, and I'm sure I'm going to pronounce this wrong because I remember it is Ozyakup. That is an absolutely atrocious bench. That is an atrocious bench.
That team was busted. We got rid of Nasri. We had to sell Nasri and Fabregas, didn't we? And we had a defensive crisis at the same time. We had no left backs. We had no right backs. The fact that we were playing Carl Jenkinson and Traore when that would have been. Didn't we buy Andre Santos? We hadn't bought Nacho Monreal.
Yeah, when we bought Per as well.
Maybe Kieran Gibbs. Or did we sell Gael Clichy that summer? Was that the summer we sold Gael Clichy?
It must have been because he's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Sanya was in
and Sanya, that was Sanya's last season, so he was injured that game. So, I mean, that defense was awful. And also the Man United team that played that season also destroyed us. Like they had like a prime Ashley Young. I remember the free kick. Rooney was still playing really, really well back then. Like that Man United team was far superior to Arsenal's.
Yeah,
in the same way, Arsenal's team.
Yeah, it is. But that's why you're annoyed that we didn't route today, right? Because I'm reading
absolutely.
one of the commentary and it says Arsenal's misery is over. Wenger shakes Fergie's hand and Rooney wanders off with the match ball. Quite simply, a rout, an embarrassment, a roasting, a hammering, a devastating day for the Arsenal. What a game! And like you come out of today's game where I feel and you feel that we could have probably we could have done that.
Yeah, I
could have righted some of the wrongs of history, right?
Yeah,
wasn't to be, but we won it anyway, right? So let's move on. I think I know the answer to this question. We're going to head to the last game of the season. You know, Man City got Tottenham Spurs on Tuesday. Let's put that to the side. We're going to the last game of the season on Sunday. What are the chances you think of us doing it, Jace? Do you think there is a chance?
We'll win. We won't win the league though.
Do you don't think there's any chance that they drop anything between now and Sunday?
I can only say what's in Arsenal's control, and I think Arsenal will do their job. I just don't think you can rely on City to falter against those opposition. The only chance we'd have of winning the league is if it was us playing City. I genuinely don't think there's any other team in the league. Maybe Villa could cause an upset, because they seem to be the team that causes problems. I think they beat City this season. They beat us twice. But I don't think there's a team that's causing an upset. I mean, I'd love it to happen. I'd love it. If we did it. But yeah, I can't see it happening, unfortunately. And that's not me being down. It's just the reality of City, right? I'm up for Arsenal. I see us last game of the season at home in the sun. We'll be fine. But it's City or the juggernaut that they are.
Okay.
Let's hope those 115 charges get sorted out, and there's a points deduction for the league title. So that's
I can't see it myself. Right, I'm going to leave our audience with a little bit of optimism, I suppose, and that is that Villa tomorrow play Liverpool. If Villa lose, there's a window of opportunity for Spurs, and I would say that Spurs, the players and the club are two different things. As fans, as Spurs fans, you will not want to give Arsenal the league. Spurs players could not give two fucks about Arsenal in reality. Let's be honest, they'll be playing for money and they'll be playing for getting into the Champions League. That is what them and their manager will care about. That is the thing that's going to drive them, not the fact that we could win the league. Ultimately, to them as players, it should matter nothing. They're not fans of the club. It is their job. And that's, for me, it's given me, like, I hope that Villa lose Klopp's last game, or maybe, no, he's at home next week, so it's his last away game. I think they want to go out there and do it justice. And then there's, anything can happen in football. And I would love it. And I know you said the Keegan quote already, so I don't want to steal it again. It would just be incredible just to get to that point and be within a chance of doing it. And we can, we're going to tie all this together after the season in a wash up, Jason, more pods where we talk about the games that we faltered in, capitulated in, should have won, could have won, all of those kind of things in between. But there's still hope for me. I'm clinging on to it for dear life. I'm on the edge, hanging on.
So Villa are 36 games in, 67 points. Spurs are 36 games in, 63 points. They've both got 2 games to play. As a 4-point gap, which means that Villa have to draw or lose for there to be anything in that.
Yep.
So we're Liverpool fans. You're telling me I'm a Liverpool fan on Monday night?
You'll be a Liverpool and a Spurs fan on Tuesday night, and then you can forget about both of them come Sunday because we're going to win the league, Chase.
Right. Okay. Just checking.
You with me? You with me? How many Liverpool Spurs shirts have you got? I don't know, in the collection.
I mean, I think I used to have a Liverpool shirt somewhere a long, long time ago, but not a Spurs shirt.
No. I can draw a cock on a ball on an England top, maybe.
Just hold a piece of paper.
I'll stick it on. I got enough cocks in my house to, draw someone. Right.
Right. That's
enough about cocks. Thank you for joining us as ever. If you're watching this, listening to us, please do subscribe, like all the usual stuff. And we'll probably be back again. Maybe not Sunday, maybe some point thereafter, just to stew on whatever happens. Go on, Jason. You're not away from work, are you?
No, mate. I can't walk anywhere anyway with this knee.
Yeah.
I'm proposing if it did happen, emergency podcast this week. If it did happen.
Okay. I like that. So we might be joining you on Wednesday if Villa, Spurs, anybody else does anything that might help us get to where we need to get to. We'll be joining you on a preview pod ahead of the Everton game on the final day of the season. But if we don't speak to you until then, thank you very much for joining us and have a wonderful evening.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Come on, you Red Rocks!